ladies. I hope you guys can see me well. Hi. I hope you guys can see me pretty well. My name is Stephanie. I'm going to wait until a couple people hop on. So if you're watching the replay, just let me know. Say hi, hashtag replay, and we'll get started as soon as some people hop on live. Hope y'all are having a good night. It is 8 p.m. here I live in Kyle. And I'm here to talk about mindset, motivation, and your motivation going forward and going into 2021. So I hope you guys can see me pretty well. If you hop on, say hello. I hate talking to a screen. So the more you guys say hi, ask me questions. I am a registered dietitian. I'm a personal trainer, and I'm a health coach. And I wanted to talk to you guys today about motivation and how you can stay motivated for 2021. Because I've seen a lot of people say, how do I get motivated? How do I stay motivated? It's coming up on a new year. And a lot of people start out with great resolutions and great intentions. And then somewhere along the way, the motivation kind of wanes and they stop doing the things that help them get to their goals. So today I'm going to give you some strategies on how you can continue to stay motivated. I do want to preface what I'm going to say, my spiel, with it comes down to a decision, right? But we can kind of trick our brain or set ourselves up for success by focusing on our energy and where we're focusing on. So what are some things that you guys find as barriers to motivation? Like, do you just feel tired? Why do you think you fall off? Or why do you think it's so hard to continue doing the things that serve you? I would love to know. Tell me in the comments, what do you think are some barriers? Or it could be anything like mindset. Is it the way you're thinking about it? Or is it something else? Are you not getting enough sleep? Are you not, do you have poor habits? Let me know. And I know there's always a delay in here too. If you're just hopping on, we're talking about motivation for 2021. And how you can stay motivated. And I'm asking, what are some barriers to your motivation? Like, do you get tired? Do you just kind of get distracted and stop thinking about your goals? Why do you think your motivation wanes after a while? Let me know in the chat. And we can get started. I'm super excited to share this with you guys today. I have made this from scratch. So, and it's based on years of research. I've been a clinical dietitian for about 12 years or 13 years. And then I kind of stepped away from that and I'm doing more things in the wellness space. So what are some things that get in the way of your motivation? Or do you even know what motivates you? I think I've asked this question many times in the past about what actually motivates you. Like, do you even know? I know for me, I have music. Music gets me, right? If I listen to Beyonce, I'm going to have a great workout. And so I know, like, if I'm not feeling well or whatever, if I put on some music, I will, it'll get my energy going. So I have made a little guide. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my guide. If you guys later on want a copy of the guide, because I'm going to have questions for you guys, let me know in the chat and I can send it to you. But it's just a guide to kind of help you and ask you questions about what actually motivates you. So I'm just going to get started. So first things first, what is motivation, right? So motivation is really your internal desire to do something. right? It's the feeling that you have like an urge or an ease of like getting your workout done or doing your meal prep. Sometimes you feel motivated, and there's like different reasons why a person would feel motivated, right? So inspiration is something a little bit different. Inspiration comes externally. Inspiration comes from, it may be a quote, it may be a podcast, or it may be you scrolling on Instagram. For me, I love looking at like fitness influencers on Instagram. That makes me want to go work out, right? So that's the difference between motivation and inspiration, right? Motivation is just your desire. Inspiration comes from externally, and it helps you to either move or be creative or inspires an action. And then self-discipline. So these things are a little bit different. And I'm going to read this. So self-discipline is about leaning into the resistance that you feel to taking action, right? So in essence, motivation is your desire to do something, and self-discipline is your ability to do it even when you don't want to, right? And so all of those things are important on the spectrum of you being motivated and you actually taking actions on the goals that you have. And it's really interesting how our brain works, because we want to get fit, we want to exercise, and we want to eat well, we want muscles, right? We want these things, but somehow we find ourselves not doing the things that we need to do, right? So we need inspiration, motivation, and self-discipline. Okay, so if you're hopping on, my name is Stephanie. I'm a health coach, and we're talking about motivation, and I wanted to see what is your barrier to motivation. Like, why do you think you get unmotivated at times? Let me know as I'm talking. All right, so how can we stay motivated, right? Number one, I created a few foundations, right? So what I'm going to do is take you through the foundations of the workbook and ask you some questions. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you how you can reuse a certain method. And it's really just mindset. Like everything that we do in life, everything that is ever created, that includes inanimate things and our own bodies, our own life, our own health, we create right here. So if you have a body that is not serving you, if you have a life that you don't want, or if you have a life that you do want, you have a body that you do want, you created it right here first. That's where you started. So anytime you want a transformation, anytime you want to make a change, you have to start with the thoughts, literally the thoughts that are in your brain. Okay? So we're going to start off with number one, what is your goal? Like, what are you working for? And if you want to tell me in the chat, please do. What are you working for? Do you have goals? Like, what are your goals for 2021? Right? What are your health goals for 2021? Do you want to get fit? Most of the time, people will say, I want to lose weight and gain muscle, or I want to lose weight and get tone, right? So what are your goals? And when you're making goals, it's really important to get specific, right? So we all have heard of SMART goals and getting specific and making sure it's measurable, making sure it's attainable, and it's not like you want to lose 100 pounds in a month. Making sure that your goal is related to, or is reliable, and what's the other one? SMART. Oh, and timely, right? So you want to quantify your goals and make sure that don't just say, I want to lose weight. You have to be really specific. I want to lose 25 pounds in the next 6 months, or whatever your goal is, right? Or I want to fit in this dress that I bought, 2 years ago that I can no longer fit in, right? So that has to be a goal. If y'all hear my children, I'm at home. If y'all hear a 3-year-old screaming, he's fine. He's just being a little boy. So what are your goals? Okay. Quantify your goals And think about how you are going to accomplish those goals. And also think about how you are going to measure those goals. How are you going to track it? Is it going to be on a scale? Is it going to be like you getting on or putting on that dress again? Like, how are you going to quantify your goals? And then the next question is, why do you want this goal? So I know that people, we talk about like, what's your why? And honestly, I was annoyed by that saying for a while, but I really got a new perspective of like that meaning of what is your why. It really has to be attached to something very emotional. So normally when I ask people like, okay, what do you want this goal? They'll say, oh, well, I just want my summer body for 2021. I want to, lose weight so I can look cute in my bikini. But really, that's not really the goal. Really, if you keep digging, you'll get to a pain point, something that's actually emotional for you, right? Something that actually maybe causes embarrassment, something that actually causes you to cry or have a strong emotion, right? So those surface level whys are not going to get to your goals. Those surface level whys are not going to make you get up early when you really don't want to. It's that pain point that you have to identify and really get clear with yourself. So keep asking yourself why. So if I ask you, why do you want your goals? And you say, oh, I want a summer body and I want, to be in a bikini 2021. Ask yourself why. Why is it important for you to wear a two-piece on the beach? Why is that important? How does that make you feel? Or how do you think it's going to make you feel? Right? You being in a two-piece on the beach, you're not just doing it just to be in a two-piece on the beach. You're doing it because of the way you think it will make you feel. Right? So whenever you write down those whys, write down your why and then ask yourself, well, why do I want that? And then why do I want that? And keep digging until you get to an emotional why. Is what I call an emotional why. Like, it is attached to strong emotion, and that emotion makes you move, right? And then ask yourself, what would happen if you didn't accomplish your goal? Like, what would happen if you didn't drop the 25 pounds? Or what would happen if, a lot of people that I've been talking to recently have diabetes. Well, what's going to happen if you don't reach the goal and you don't lower your blood sugar and your A1C, or you don't get your cholesterol down? Then what would happen, right? So, you may be at risk for stroke. You may be at risk for a heart attack. You may be, at risk to lose your life, right? Though that's a pretty strong why, right? That gets you emotional. Like, you want to be here for your kids, right? You want to be here for your grandkids, and you want to live a healthy life. Those are strong whys. And so I want you to get to whatever strong emotional why that you have. Because I guarantee you, you're not just wanting to frolic on the beach in a two-piece bikini just because, right? There's something deeper there. So in order to get to that deeper emotional why, keep asking yourself why until you get to that pain point. Okay? So that basically sets up your goal, right? So you're going to do these next few parts, and I'll break it down as just a foundation, right? So you just need to know what your goal is and why you want that goal. What you want that goal to feel like when you accomplish it. Like, what is that going to do for you emotionally? And what would happen if you didn't reach that goal, right? So second part is reflection. So we've all likely had times in our life when we were actually doing what we wanted to do, right? We were actually like in the flow. Maybe you had a wedding, or maybe you were going on a cruise, or there was something, an event or something like that, that really sparked you and you were like, okay, I gotta lose this weight. And or maybe it was a health scare. Maybe, your doctor told you that, if you don't change your eating habits, that you could be at risk for diabetes or something like that. Like, it's an emotional or some kind of important event, right? What worked for you in the past? Like, what were you doing in the past that helped you to get the results? Maybe maybe you didn't lose all the weight, but maybe you lost like 10 pounds, and you did that. How did you get there? Like, how did you get to that goal? Right? How did you, what thoughts were you thinking? Right? Because everything starts with our thoughts. And I always go back to this. My clients know, like, I talk about mindset a lot. I'm a weight loss and mindset coach because the mindset is the most important part. And I can go on and on about that. But think about what systems worked for you. So that may be, some people will say, well, if I don't get my workout done in the morning time, then it's probably not going to happen, right? So that was maybe something that you put in place to say, hey, I need to get my workouts done in the morning. So that's a rule and a system that you can put in place. Hey, I need to wake up by this time so that I can get a 30-minute workout in before I go to work, right? So know what has worked for you in the past, and then ask yourself, how can I recreate that feeling? How can I recreate those thoughts? Like, what are the thoughts that I need to be thinking right now in order to create those feelings that I felt? And then every thought really is tied to an action, right? Because when we think something, it makes us feel a certain way. And then how we feel, we usually act how we feel, right? So what were your thoughts and feelings? And then how can you recreate those thoughts and feelings, right? And I have a whole workbook for anybody that's new on here. I have a whole workbook that goes over and outlines all these questions. If you'd like the workbook, let me know in the comments and I'll send it to you. But really ask yourself, what worked? How can you recreate those feelings? And like, what were you thinking and what were you doing at the time when things were working well? And then I want you to highlight and pick some of those high vibe habits. Is what I call high vibe habits of things that worked well. And remember those, right? You want to highlight those and say, okay, I woke up early. I'm going to just read some of these. I woke up early. I rewarded myself, non-food rewards. I put on music, or I was tracking my progress, or I went straight to the gym after work, right? Those things may work for you. So those are systems that you can identify them and write them down. These are the things that have worked for me in the past, right? Then ask yourself, like, well, why did I stop doing these things, right? Why did I stop doing these? But going forward, identify the things that has worked in the past, okay? So now that we have set our goals, we know why we want our goals. We have looked at what has worked in the past, right? Now we're going to talk about how we can troubleshoot some self-sabotage. Because if we know we have a tendency to self-sabotage and to do things that are not in our best interest, we can plan ahead and say, okay, when I start doing X, Y, and Z, I know that, I'm about to start self-sabotaging, and we can choose to think new thoughts. We can choose to take new actions. But it's all about self-awareness, because if you're not aware of what you're doing, if you're just going along and you're not planning your day, you're not planning your week, and you're not aware of what you're doing or the thoughts in your mind, then however you feel is how you're going to act in the moment, and that can change from day to day, right? So I'm going to read some of these. Well, as I was researching, I've been doing more research on self-sabotage, and a lot of these slapped me in the face, okay? So let me know if you can relate to any of these ways that you can identify self-sabotage. So number one, you work on low priority tasks, but leave high priority tasks undone. You self-generate stress. For example, you start more projects than you have time to finish. So you expect yourself to succeed in making changes without designating any time or mental space to accomplish them. And I feel like that's a big one. I always promote having a power hour, which is just intentional time alone. And that time you can meditate, say your affirmations, do your gratitude, and plan so that you are preparing your mind mentally to focus your energy on areas that serve you the best. So some more ways that you can identify self-sabotage. You ignore signs that you need a break, right? And as Black women, we do that a lot. Okay, I'm gonna read a couple of more of these. There's several on here. I'm reading this from the guide that I created. So you're a perfectionist who is dismissive of incremental improvements. So you're only satisfied when 100% of the problem is fixed. That one is so me. Super perfectionist. You create self-imposed rules that trigger and support procrastination. And procrastination is one of the biggest activities of self-sabotage. I don't know if y'all know that. So for example, if I don't have time to do my whole workout, I won't do any of it. How many times have we said that? How many times have we said, I'll start over on Monday? That is procrastination. So whenever I, as a coach, when I hear that, I know that that person isn't quite ready. Or maybe they need some coaching in order to get ready to make a lifestyle change. But the fact of the matter is, there's something that you could do that can push you to your goals just a little bit more today, right now. Like, there's something that you could do. So you never have to start over on Monday. There really is no starting over. One of my favorite quotes is, if you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. We're not starting and stopping over. You're just continuing on, right? And so that mindset of, oh, I have to start over on Monday is self-sabotage, right? So these are just some ways that you can identify self-sabotage. So we've looked at our goals and we've talked about what our goals are and why. We've reflected on what has worked in the past and how we can recreate that success. And now we're going into self-sabotage and knowing what throws you off track, right? So in what ways do you self-sabotage, right? So I just gave you several examples and there's several more on there. Think about your habits and your negative self-talk. That negative self-talk of, oh, I'll never lose a pound. My mom says that all the time. Or, just like, even sometimes when we're like joking about ourselves and say negative things, all of that, we're internalizing all of that. And it's actually, coming from our shadow beliefs and what we really believe about ourselves, even though sometimes we try to make a joke out of it. But I need you to identify the ways in which you self-sabotage, okay? And think about your habits and your negative self-talk. You got to write that down. Get all of that out on paper and really self-evaluate. Some of the ones that I mentioned earlier about, if I don't have an hour to work out, then I'm not going to work out at all. Even though you have 30 minutes that you could work out, right? That's like all or nothing thinking, feeling like I have to do all of my workout or I can't do any of it. Or I'm going to go on this diet, and if I eat anything that's not on the diet, then I have to start over on Monday, right? That's all or nothing thinking. That's black and white thinking, and that is self-sabotage because that's really not true. That's like something that our brain tells us, like, okay, we're not being perfect in this moment, but that's really not true. You don't have to start over on Monday, right? So identifying how you personally self-sabotage, right? and knowing what that looks like. That could look like, just hanging out with a certain crowd who doesn't have any health aspirations, and you just kind of go along with the crowd. It could look like that, right? And you're not setting boundaries with yourself and with people. It could look like you get a call last minute, and one of your friends wants to go shopping, but it's your workout time, and you decide to go without rescheduling your workout somewhere else throughout the week, right? Those little things like that. So what does self-sabotage look like to you? So think about how you can stop self-sabotaging your goals. So from the list that you've created of like the ways that you personally self-sabotage, how can you troubleshoot those problems, right? It could be that you don't go straight home from going to the gym. I know a lot of us aren't going to the gym right now, but hopefully that will change at some point. So that could look like you making a rule for yourself. On my workout days, I will go straight from work to the gym instead of coming home first and having my clothes in the car. That could look like on my workout days, I'm going to work out in the morning and I'm going to sleep in my workout clothes so that I can wake up and already be prepared. And that just decreases decision fatigue of you like waking up, trying to find out what you're going to wear, putting it on, that just wastes time. And then it gives your brain time to like make an excuse to not do it. So what are ways that you can troubleshoot your self-sabotage? How can you set up your environment for success, especially in your home, right? So in your home, you should be in a safe place. So if you have goals, you might want to detox your kitchen. You might want to get rid of most of the junk, right? Because if it's there in the house, you're probably going to eat it, right? What are ways that you can set up your environment for success? What are ways you can get around people who are health conscious? What are ways that you can make sure that when you're at home, you're not tempted to eat a whole bunch of Oreos or whatever? Okay, so identifying that self-sabotage. And then we'll talk about identity and your self-image. Like, who are you, right? Who are you now? And who do you want to be? Like, what's the woman that you want to be? And this right here gets me really excited, because this is where you can allow yourself to think about the possibilities, right? And think about like who you are and what kind of habits, what kind of thoughts, what kind of life does this woman have that you want to be? The best version of yourself. The person that shows up for herself, the person that creates time for herself and that creates boundaries around the things that are important to her. What does she do? What does she look like? Like, what does that look like for you? So I'm going to read a couple of these. So if you were already accomplishing your goals, right? Whatever goals that you want to accomplish that we talked about earlier, what kind of thoughts and habits would you have? The version of yourself that is motivated and productive, what thoughts does she think? And that's a really, really powerful question. Sometimes what I do in the morning is, I'm not really a morning person, but I get up and I'm like, okay, what would my CEO do? I call my best self, the best version of myself, my CEO. So I'm like, what would my CEO do? The answer is always clear. Right? It's never ambiguous. It's always like, okay, she would get up and do what she needs to do. Period. And so that helps me and gets clear, because if I want to be that woman in my mind, right? And this goes for health, this goes for your business, this goes for everything. If I want to be that woman, I have to start right here. I have to start thinking like her. I have to start thinking and creating habits like this best version of myself. Okay? So understand who she is. And so there's a whole page in the workbook that talks about your best self. So it says, write down a day in the life of the woman that you want to be. Who does she show up as? Like, how do you want to show up in your life and your relationships and your health journey? Write down from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, What kind of life, habits, and feelings does she have? Excellent exercise. I personally love it because it gets me excited. Okay, so all of this is just pre-work. You only do this one time, right? You only do this part one time, but it sets the foundation for the motivation strategy that you can reuse over and over again. Okay, so after you created your identity and who you want to be, who you want to show up as, start thinking about some inspiration. So I gave an example or a definition earlier about what inspiration is. Inspiration comes externally, and it helps to create action within yourself or creativity. So you want to pick out some quotes. You want to pick out some mantras. You want to pick out some images that personify what you want in your life and help you and remind you of that emotional why. So you could write down some of those empowering thoughts that your best self is thinking and just stick them on sticky notes on your refrigerator, on your mirror, on your desktop, like put it on your phone so you can see it. So you're constantly reminded. And even if you're not like reading it every day, which I do think you should read it every day, your subconscious is still picking that up, right? So write out some of your empowering thoughts. Find some inspirational quotes, images that remind you of your emotional why, the real thing that you're after, and things that get you fired up. So put those quotes and images and powerful statements around your home, your office, on the screen of your computer. Put those energetic images where you can see them every day. So you want to pick out a couple of your favorite quotes. And you want to kind of use those as mantras that you're going to repeat to yourself during your motivation strategy. Those times when you don't really feel like, you're not really feeling going out to work out or whatever. Pick out some and have them on hand, like in advance, right? So you can think about this. This is the foundation. You think about this now, and then when you need motivation, those mantras and those quotes can come to mind. Okay. So get in the habit of writing down those mantras or those quotes daily and focusing your energy on what the words mean to you. Okay. So after we've talked about your identity and who you want to be, we're intentionally putting inspiration around our home so that our subconscious and our conscious is picking these up, right? And then you can set up some ways to track your progress. So the number one thing that I have found that clients say, hey, this is what motivates me, is progress. When they see the scale going down, when they see that they're more muscular and they have a lower body fat percentage, when they see that they're losing inches, when they see that they feel more energetic week after week, that helps them to find progress. So setting up a system to where you can track your progress. And progress doesn't always have to be scale related. It does not have to be scale related because the scale doesn't even tell the whole story. So you setting up ways that you can find a win. I call it finding a win, right? So if you find a win, you find some progress and you hold on to that and you focus on that because that's important and that helps you to stay motivated. So I have a habit tracker in the guide so you can track your habits. And sometimes a win means I'm tracking a habit. I'm not necessarily tracking my weight from day to day, but I'm tracking my habits from day to day that will get me to my goal. Because the habits that you do every day is what's going to get you to your goal. So if you focus on the present and today, what I'm going to do today to get to my goal, and you string along 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of working on those habits and checking off that box, then your goal is coming, right? Your goal is coming because your habits are directly tied to your goal. And so I have a habit tracker in the guide. Okay. So now that you've done that foundation work, you know your why and your goal. You know what has worked in the past. You have identify those areas of self-sabotage where you don't do things that serve you, but you've troubleshooted those things, and you can identify them and be more self-aware. And you have created a new identity and created a self-image of this woman that you really want to be. That is the groundwork, okay? You only have to do that one time. That's just to get you self-aware, okay? So your motivation strategy, this is called motivation made easy, right? So your motivation strategy that you will do and reuse day to day, whenever you're feeling like you don't want to do what you want to do or what you need to do, starts with this. So I'm just going to give you a scenario. It's my workout time, but I don't really want to go work out. Okay. One thing you can start off by doing, write down that why. Write down that emotional why. Okay. And write down any progress that you've made. And I mean anything. Maybe you're just starting, but a progress could be, hey, I've created my, my foundation and my motivation mindset. That's something. That's a win. Because now you're more self-aware, right? So that's the very first step in your motivation strategy. Write down. And when I say write down, I literally mean get a pen and a piece of paper and write down your emotional why. That's easy enough to do, right? Is that easy? That's pretty easy to do. Write down your emotional why, and then write down any progress. So think about, okay, what progress have I made? So that takes what? Maybe 10 seconds, 30 seconds at the most to write down something that is an emotional why and some wins that you have. Second thing, you can sit and visualize you completing the goal. That takes little to no effort. Like literally sit after you've written down your why and your progress and your wins. Visualize yourself completing the task. So whatever that is. In my example, I'm using workout. So I'm literally visualizing myself going in the gym, lifting weights, or maybe I'm going to go and run, or whatever activity that you're doing, right? I'm going to see myself in my mind because I'm going to create the result first in my mind. Okay? That's easy enough to do. Doesn't take a lot of energy, right? But you want to see this in detail. And what does it feel like? I want you to really see it in detail and feel what it feels like, right? See yourself doing it and say, I see myself XYZ. Okay? So then I want you to repeat that empowering quote or mantra. All right? So this is just thinking. Like literally all I'm asking you to do is write a couple of things down and think. Easy, right? So after you have visualized yourself, right, and you're repeating that mantra over and over in your mind, remember those high vibe habits that you created earlier. You're going to want to pick one of those to fit the situation. So for example, like putting on a song, right? So we made earlier in the guide tasks that we could do that immediately can increase our vibe. For me, that would be music. I put on Beyonce, I'm ready, right? So I can go and I can put on my music, right? So now I'm getting I'm seeing it in my mind. I'm putting on the music and I'm increasing my energies, right? I'm increasing my energy by just the thoughts that I'm thinking. And you're going to repeat that empowering quote or mantra again. Like you're just going to keep on repeating that. And it has to be something that really moves you emotionally. And then the last thing is just tell yourself, I'm just going to do this for 5 minutes. Like literally. Right? So I have written down my emotional why and my wins. I visualized, I have put on my music, and now I'm like, okay, I don't really feel like working out, but I'm just going to do this for 5 minutes. And I'm literally going to set a timer, just put it for 5 minutes, and I'm just going to go and do my jumping jack. Maybe I'll do a little warm up, 5-minute warm up. I'm just going to do it a little bit. And literally, I feel like it sounds so simple, but the hardest part is just getting started. But if you can raise your energy a little bit by the thoughts that you're thinking and then do it a little bit, right? So say you only do it for 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes is better than nothing, The next day, you do it for 6 minutes. The next day, you do it for 7 minutes, and so on. But likely, whenever you get started, you're going to continue. Like, I've never thought to myself, okay, I'm going to just like work out just a few, 5 minutes. And now my juices are flowing. Now my blood is flowing. And I continue going, right? So that was, simple, right? I feel like the motivation strategy itself is very simplistic, but it really is training your mind to think thoughts that serve you so that you can raise your energy level and get moving. Okay. So does anybody have any questions? I feel like I've just been talking. I don't see any comments. So I hope that was helpful. Like I said, I do have a habit tracker in the guide as well. So let's say you do those 5 minutes. You can go to your habit tracker and you can, bubble in the square, and over time, each day, right, that creates a habit. Like, okay, I've been moving. I've moved for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and all of that is related to your goal. Let me see if there's anything else. I do have some notes in here so that you can kind of think, but everything starts with your mind. So I want you, if you got nothing else from this, I want you to know that your results start in your mind first, right? And you can increase your motivation and your self-discipline through inspiration. You can. You have the ability and own your power to do that, right? And at the end of the day, I can tell you to do these strategies, but it's going to take you deciding that that's what you want to do. Because motivation is not going to come and just sit in your lap. You have to decide that that's what you want to do. And whether that be, doing this the strategies that I've just talked about, or just going and doing your workout or whatever, it's still a decision that you have to make. And so that action is what's going to help you to stay motivated. And that's all up to you. Like, you can get a coach, you can get, a community or a group, but you have to decide whether or not that's something that you want to do. So I hope that made sense. I hope that was helpful. Please let me know. If you want the guide, I can definitely send it to you. So just let me know in the comments. And thank you guys for watching. I will talk to you soon.